Peterson's Farms faithful, the PNFers out there who pay attention to our podcast, really our content, I want to introduce you to this lady, Dr. Wiedeman, correct?
Correct.
All right. We're going to explore the carnivore diet. We're here at KetoCon 2023. I'm getting the luxury of meeting some people I wanted to meet, right? The podcast is a great excuse for me to say, hey, would you come talk to us for a little bit? And in the process, we introduce you to all of our friends and family and community members at Peterson's. And I know, I don't even know why I said I hope, because I know they can learn something and they can be a part of your community. So I guess first things first, let's don't beat around the bush. Is carnivore sustainable?
Yeah, so it's interesting because it became more of a well-known entity, let's say, in the past few years. And I kept hearing people say, well, that's all well and good. You think that's healthy, but what's going to happen to your heart in 5 years? And do you really think that way of eating is sustainable? It's not sustainable. People kept saying it's not sustainable. So I kind of raised my hand and said, let me step into the arena, because I've been doing this for over 14 years. And when I say doing this, I'm telling you since March of 2009, when I, through a lot of perseverance of research and trying to figure out my own issues of sugar addiction, binge eating, I couldn't get out from under myself with that. And once I learned about this and how healthy it is, not only for people with food addiction, but people with mental issues, diabetes, hypertension, psoriasis, eczema, IBS, Crohn's. We can go on, because I'm going to tell you, through my 14 years now of doing this and many years of coaching thousands and thousands of people, I realize our bodies are fully capable of healing once we remove toxic foods and feed nourishing fatty meat. And that's really the key that I just figured out. Heck, let me jump in and do this. And year by year, I feel amazing. I'm 58 years old. I've been an optometric physician for over 30 years. And I did not take this lightly, this whole thing, because, of course, we have that cognitive dissonance that you really need to eat lots of plants, lots of fruits and vegetables. Oh, and don't forget the grains and the fiber. Well, I've had 0 grains and 0 fiber for over 14 years, 0 vegetables, 0 fruit. I feel amazing, and I'm realizing how this is really a way of life that is totally sustainable.
I thought you saying the word way of life, or the 2 words way of life, that's really how I think about it, or I try to think about it. It's how I hope my kids think about it.
It's not a diet.
Yeah, I mean, we're eating to live. You're really eating to live and participate in your life in the most enjoyable way for you, whatever that may be. Well, I want to be active. Like I tell people, I want to slide into heaven in a ball of dust and all busted up like, man, that was a ride.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, I have to fuel my body the right way with the right foods. For me in particular, it is meat. I am not a carnivore. I'm not eating the carnivore diet. I think partially because I've not bumped into that pain, whatever things you went through, the perseverance you had to go through to make you search. Like I haven't had to search. I've just been generally healthy.
Right.
At least in my own mind.
So I'm guessing, though, that you totally avoid processed foods, seed oils, which is the big no-no as far as eating anything. And I say don't eat anything that comes in a box, a bag, a bottle, or a jar. And for the most part, you'll be A-okay. And you're right. I say people really need to have their why that makes them cry to fully embrace this whole carnivore way of life, because you know what? I get it. It's a little socially awkward when you're out and people look at you like you have two heads, that you're only eating meat. And I basically eat meat, seafood, eggs, and I try to limit dairy because dairy is, for the most part, can be problematic for people. So it is really interesting the way you put that. You haven't come to that point because maybe the way you're eating with the fruits and vegetables that I'm guessing that you also include. Do you include bread?
I do. I eat bread. Like, I am not a great example of the right kind of, I guess, eating lifestyle.
Uh-huh.
I'm lazy. My kids are super busy. Our life is super busy. Although, I've told this story in a couple other interviews, I think it's good for this one because I have this sneaky suspicion you've got a really strong group of people that pay attention to you. And if you happen to share that you were on here, I'd love them to hear this story. I'm eating with my daughter after a softball game. We've been busy. It's late. It's 8 p.m., 9 maybe. It was late, which isn't a great idea to eat right before bed. Anyways, but this is what we're doing. Well, instead of going to the fast food, we ran home. My wife had thawed out some salmon. We cooked the salmon. We were sitting there eating salmon. I think it was green beans and bacon. And she just looked at me in the most pure, honest, she didn't have anything other than to say, I love this. You know, she just said, I love this, Dad. Now, part of it was because we were together. She loved that part. The other part was she loved the food. She's like, this is so much better for me. I feel it. I can feel it when I'm eating it, that I'm doing my body good. So that's a truth. It spurred me. It made me almost want to cry and just say, wow, I have to quit being lazy. And if anybody's been listening to this, I've been lazy for 50 years. I mean, it's not this thing that you solve by saying, I want to. It takes work. Do you coach people? I mean, can you coach me? Like,
Absolutely.
I'm looking for some free coaching.
But I would be happy to. But it's very difficult to coach somebody who doesn't have that motivation, that why that makes them cry. So it's typically anxiety, depression. It's aches and pains and joint issues because autoimmune issues are very common. Year after year, decade after decade of eating grains, processed foods, seed oils, and in the carnivore world, we really do believe that plants have their inherent toxins to preserve themselves on Earth. That's their protective mechanism. And for some people, it affects them much earlier, much quicker, much more intently eating them, as opposed to others who go a long period of time. Now, this is a different category than talking about eliminating pizza and pasta and bread, which I really do truly believe humans are not intended to eat pizza, pasta,
Sure.
or bread. Grains, there's so much information about how grains are not healthy, but it's another level when people are trying to believe that plants are trying to kill you.
Yeah, sure.
But meat is not, and that's the incredible thing. And a lot of people say, how can you do that? It's so restrictive. Don't you get sick of meat? Oh, my gosh. They go, it's boring, right? I'm going, no, I am never bored. You know what's boring? Boring is standing at line at the pharmacy for your prescription.
I was going to ask you, how often do you see the doctor?
I don't. I don't have any need for the medical profession, which is amazing. After 14 years of just nourishing my body with protein and fat, I have literally nothing that I could possibly, unless I break a bone or get some sort of weird, infectious attack, I have no need to be monitored by the medical profession, which is a sick care profession now. They are looking for your symptoms. They are making a diagnosis so that they can write the prescription for the drug. They're not getting to root cause healing. Root cause healing really stems from what you eat. It's all in what you put in your mouth.
It is. It's just amazing to kind of see, if you look at history a little bit, which I'm no history buff, although as I get a little older, I start caring a little more about history. in the early 1900s, we really weren't an obese
Not
group
at
of
all.
people,
Not
because
at all.
food was harder to find. Comforts were harder. I mean, we're in the Great Depression. People are starving to death. So it's just the way of eating became so convenient. And I just told a story about how convenient it is to go get stuff that's really just not great for you.
Right.
So I don't know how we untangle that.
Yeah.
I think these conversations is one way.
Yeah, and it's, over 100 years ago, the introduction of Crisco and basically processed food and seed oils that crept into our food system, which was heavily promoted by the food industry, who literally hire addiction experts full-time on staff to get their foods to be as addictive as possible. The Doritos, the potato chips, you name it, any processed food, that's their goal. And we have to really understand this is toxic foreign food to our body. Now, here's, I think, one of the biggest part of the problems with this is that with something like heroin, alcohol, we have a fairly instantaneous feedback loop of this is not good for my body and I could kill myself tomorrow. With food, everybody's laughing, pushing on you. Oh, you got to try this. Oh, what do you mean you don't eat that? You only live once. Everybody's happy and laughing and eating all this toxic food. And in our mind, because, it's not something that is penalized the next day, but I call it slow suicide because eventually dementia, Alzheimer's, cancer, diabetes, hypertension, stroke, you name it, it's coming on. And you know what people think? Oh, don't get old. This is what happens when you get old. No, this is not what happens when you get old. This is what happens after 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years of putting toxic foreign food into our bodies.
100%. Everybody, listen. I mean, I want to just holler, yeehaw. Yes, this is the kind of stuff I want everybody to think about. And this isn't the biggest news flash of all time. I mean, it really isn't. We kind of know it inherently. Like, something's not right about this food I'm eating that doesn't like.
But do you think people think that they're out at an Italian restaurant and they're having, bolognese and ziti, and they're eating calamari deep fried in the seed oils, and they're having, you name it, at whatever restaurant. Restaurants are the biggest culprits with seed oils, and it takes literally a minimum of 6 years to clear seed oils out of your body. You eat potato chips, you eat French fries, salad dressing, mayonnaise, it's full of canola oil, soybean oil. You have to avoid that like the plague, because if you stop, any of the listeners here, you stop eating it today, there is a very long half-life of getting this out of your body. And so what I'm saying, you stop now, 6 years from now, it's still going to be there, but the bulk of it after 6 years will be exited.
Right, you've started flushing it. See, and that sounds a little bit intimidating to me. It's like, wow. So I've not even started. Now I've got 6 years to actually get on the other side of this. Well, that's also should be kind of exciting. Like, you need to start now.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, so real quick, there's so many things I'd love to talk to you about. We don't have all day. They're fixing to do opening ceremonies. You've got other people to go see. Touch on, or you pick one. Moving your body, lifting heavy things. What do you think about that? Or why are seed oils so bad?
Wow, I'm gonna try to jump on both of those really quick because number one, I'm a huge proponent of telling everybody you need to lift. You need to pick weights that are heavy enough that you do one set to failure and do all your body parts, do it twice a week. After pretty much the age of between 30 and 35, we go through sarcopenia, which is your muscles start to waste unless you are actively, let's say, combating that. Let me jump onto the seed oil thing because
lift heavy things, folks.
Absolutely, like it's your job, and I put it on my calendar. And And I tell people, don't think you have to be a gym rat. You don't have to go 4 or 5 times a week. I'm in really good shape. I lift twice a week, and there's a lot of methods out there you can learn about called slow burn. There's a lot out there that really show that minimal time is needed just twice a week. Seed oils, near and dear to my heart because of being an eye doctor. Macular degeneration is so prominent. 1 in 3 people after the age of 75 have it now. It used to be rare, 1 in the hundreds of thousands back in the 1900s. So, and even over the age of 55, 1 in 11 people. The cause? There's been a lot of research done on this. It's not out into public knowledge because everybody wants to think, oh, I can just take those eye health vitamins, right, and all will be good.
Yeah, eat some carrots.
Yeah, no. I call BS on that. It is sugars, grains, seed oils, processed food. It is what has come into our food system in the past 100 years that has exponentially increased not only eye disease, obesity, you name it, all of our health issues. But it's so important because these seed oils, they were meant as engine lubricants. And they go through like an 8-process chemical, I can't curse on here,
yeah,
can I?
Sure,
Shit show.
Yeah, that's right. That's okay.
Okay, and every cell in our body has lipids. It's made of fat. And these things absorb into the cell walls, both in the brain, in our muscles, in our skin, everywhere. And like I said, there's like a 3-year half-life. 3 years from now, half of it will be dissipated. It's so important to get it out of your mouth because there is no way, shape, or form anybody can convince me that this is not really the ultimate cause of a lot of disease. And it's very inflammatory and it's toxic. And if I could impart one thing, eat a lot of meat, and I found an awesome like go-to source now because I'm really happy being here at KetoCon to be exposed to your awesome farm. So I'm definitely excited to be able to order and ship that back home to New Jersey.
Well, and that makes me say, as you're saying that, I want people to have a chance to get to know you. So, like, where would you say, come find me here? I imagine you're in a lot of places. Maybe tell them all. We'll put them in the show notes of the show.
Yeah, it's actually really pretty simple because I do limit where I am because I can only focus on so much. But I am mainly on Instagram, and if you're not on Instagram, I'm also have a pretty big presence on YouTube. I go live every week. I do carnivore cooking videos. I do how to tackle your sugar cravings and get over the fact that it's not easy. I say, the rules are very simple, but it's not easy to execute. Why? We have triggers everywhere. Right? It's
like that food addiction, sugar addiction. It is being an addict, and you have to consume the thing you're addicted to. You couldn't just cut it out of your. I don't know. This could sound insensitive. I don't mean it that way, but you could imagine an addict, heroin addict, can just quit taking heroin.
Right.
But you can't just quit eating food.
Right. But that's the beauty of carnivore because you can absolutely quit the very addictive things, which are carbs, pasta, bread, chips, ice cream, cookies. It's basically sugar and carb and processed food. You can lump it all together. I don't know what your favorite go-to food is, but a lot of people don't really realize that it truly is an actual addiction.
Yeah.
And they wonder, what's wrong with me? I'm good for a month and then I'm down in the ditch. And then I claw myself out after I put on a few pounds and then I do great and then I'm back in the ditch. So for that, I offer weekly groups. I have amazing people that come into coaching Zoom groups, and we talk about all this. We talk about how to handle family situations, how to handle social situations, and how to really embrace this incredibly healthy way of life. And we share along the way, what's working and what's not working.
Sure. We're at KetoCon, We're over here in our booth cooking bacon, pickled sausage, smoked sausage. The line is constant and always. It's just when you get into a group of people who value and understand the value of meat, and meat probably needs a good definition, and we could debate that some other day.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what really qualifies? Something that spoils is what I say. If it's going to go bad, that's fresh food, I think, is good for you to eat.
Yeah, and people ask me, well, what actually can I eat on carnivore? I say, if it once had a mother, you can eat it.
There you go. That's great. Drop the mic. Doctor, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having
me.
me.
Got up early, came early to the show so we could have this time together. Everybody out there in PNF Nation, you PNFers, go check out Dr. Wiedeman.
Yeah, I'm at Carnivore Doctor on Instagram, spell out the word doctor, and Carnivore Doctor on my YouTube channel.
Real quick, have you got another 2 minutes? Because it just occurs to me. So addiction typically triggers in stress, in sad time. I guess it's always stress. I mean, something causes your stress, either finances, parent dying, just stuff that happens in life. Do you help people understand how to recognize that and how to combat that?
Yeah.
Am I even pulling on a thread that's real?
Oh my gosh, that is such a incredible topic to have to really talk about, because you have to change your relationship with food, because we're so used to turning to food for emotional reasons, either filling an emotional void or angry, anxious, sad, even happy.
Right, sure. Big happy meals with your family.
Yeah. And so much of life centers around food. And now for me, it's no different. I still partake and enjoy going out with friends, family holidays, but my mom knows to make a big prime rib roast. I don't want to eat ham on Easter.
Yeah, sure.
Although ham's perfectly fine, but give me the fatty meat. And but yeah, that's such an important point, because you can set, like I said, the rules are simple, and execution is so difficult because of emotional. A lot of it is stress. But I say to people, you know what? I say, suck it up, buttercup. You're going to have stress throughout your life. They say,
That's right.
oh, well, my aunt was dying. I had to take care of her. Or, oh, whatever. I was getting divorced. I was moving. Well, is that a reason to treat your body like a garbage can?
Right.
And really dealing with understanding that stress is always going to be there, and you have to figure out alternative ways, whether you're going to get into going for walks and listening to great podcasts like this one.
That's right.
Stick those earbuds in and go for a walk and distract yourself, or take up a hobby, something that you've always wanted to do. All of a sudden, now that you're not spending so much time snacking and heading to food for comfort, find really what really turns you on and do it.
Yep, you bet. When you feel that stress coming on and you got to work, you said it earlier, you got to treat it like a job. Like, it is my job to feed my body the kind of food it needs. So then you start thinking, oh, well, I don't want to get fired. So you start thinking, okay, cool. Actually, I feel that stress coming. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to go for a jog. That stuff works really good for me.
Yeah, so exercise, meditation, even putting a headset on and listening to music, or taking up a new language, or whatever it is, you have to understand that your go-to can't be to stand up and walk into the kitchen.
Yeah. I mean, that's a shout out to all you creators out there, musicians, etc. Anybody doing art. That's a release for people's stress, and they can sub that in for food. Wow. Great conversation.
Thanks so
Great
much
to
for
meet
having
you.
me.
Thank you for being here. Everybody, come back next time. We'll be talking to somebody else I guarantee you can learn a little something from. We're going to talk a little bit more and give you another way to look at where food comes from. Thanks for being here.